I think I'm on. And before it goes live, hi everyone. Thanks for joining another episode of Wednesdays with Wendy. I'm excited to be here. I'm not sure if anyone is currently watching, but if you are, say hello in the chat. We will get started right away. I do have a couple of announcements. As you can see, Shape Partners went through some changes. We have a new look. Our logo is new, different color, a little lighter. That's one announcement. The second announcement is our website is up and in development. I'm so excited about how things are coming out there. The website, we'll be able to do videos and communicate on there. So I'm really pumped about that. And the biggest announcement that I'm really excited about is that Shape Partners started a private group for cancer caregivers. And it's called Cancer Caregivers Community with Shape Partners. It's a private group for former and current caregivers where caregivers can really receive personalized and really interactive support. There's a couple of caregivers on the page who mentioned that, they hear, they're watching, but don't quite feel as comfortable really engaging in a forum such as this one because it's so public. So that's understandable. So we did launch that. After this video, I will post the link and more information about that. So I am really excited about that announcement. And this page will remain active for individuals who support Shape Partners, and especially for our healthcare providers who are on here. Being on this page can really help us really enhance, the way we interact and support cancer caregivers or, just caregivers in general. So this page will still be active with a lot of information. So with that, we're going to get started on our topic tonight, which is recognizing caregiver burnout. So why are we even talking about caregiver burnout? And I actually have notes tonight because there's a lot of information that I want to cover and I want to make sure I don't forget anything. So why are we discussing this? So in the statistics, in research or in the world, it is known that 50% of cancer caregivers experience stress, and that's related to caregiving. That is a huge number of people who are stressed related to caregiving. And, when you're talking about a cancer diagnosis, it's not something that's planned, it's something that happens, and then the family dynamics just switch. They just change, for the patient, but also for the caregivers, whether it's a wife, a husband, a daughter, a son, a friend, everyone's life really shifts with the cancer diagnosis. So the stress levels are really high for the patient and the caregiver. And stress can lead to caregiver burnout. And stress, as we know, is really our response to internal and external stressors. And as we know, chronic stress can really impact our health. And some signs of stress that I just want to go over just so people are aware is, when you're irritable, if you're feeling run down, if you are having trouble sleeping, if your health problems are worsening or you develop new health problems or you have trouble concentrating. So those are just some symptoms of stress. And I also like to add that stress is anything that you as an individual define it to be, because it really is a personal phenomenon, a lived experience, right? So the words or definitions that I use may not really relate to your stress. I think everyone experiences stress differently, but it really is whatever you consider stressful. So everyone can have their own personal definition of what stress is. So, caregiver burnout is really a physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion related to, the role of caregiving. And, this can be accompanied by, your attitude. Usually you start off very positive, very caring, and then you transition to just negative and really just unconcerned about the one person you're caring for yourself, the whole situation. You just kind of had it. And some signs of that is really, some causes of the burnout is really fear and uncertainty. So having a loved one diagnosed with cancer, it can be scary. You don't know what that is going to result in. Is it end of life? Everyone thinks cancer, death, which is not always the case. Not always the case. And just uncertainty about diagnosis, about treatment. Many people who are caregivers don't really know too much about cancer in the medical field and all these terms and all these medications and all these acronyms that we use, so making people feel really uncertain and just uneasy. So shifting roles. Many caregivers, maybe the person who's diagnosed with cancer is the breadwinner or the one who kind of does everything around the house. Now that person is in treatment and kind of dealing with their cancer diagnosis, and now the caregiver has to take on that role, so maybe not even ready to take on that role, but just thrown into it. That can definitely cause burnout. Too much to do. So that kind of piggybacks on what I just said. They have to do everything. They have to fulfill their role and the role of the individual who has cancer. And financial pressures. Once someone's diagnosed with cancer, there's medications, there's co-pays, there's so many different things. And I posted this in the group the other day that 25% of cancer caregivers reported financial strain. So this is a serious problem, and many caregivers are also working. They're working over 30 hours a week and trying to care for their loved ones. So that is a lot. That's a lot for caregivers. They suffer from loneliness and isolation because, who you are before cancer, before your loved one is diagnosed with cancer, and who you are after, there can be some conflict there, right? You may feel like you're alone. You don't really want to reach out for help. You don't really want to, talk about it, but something is going on internally with you. So you may feel kind of lonely, kind of, like unsure, like you're alone. No one really understands what you're going through. And as a caregiver, you don't want to stress out your loved one. So you usually keep that stuff to yourself, right? And, as healthcare professionals, I think it's important and I know we have some healthcare professionals on, is really, making sure that we are assessing the caregivers for stress and burnout. Because then we can intervene. And I know we are all pressed for time, but one question and a resource. So making sure you have that resource ahead of time can really help a caregiver out. So just asking, like really stopping and connecting with that caregiver to say, how are you doing? And I know me personally, being a nurse practitioner, I have had caregivers call me like after the visit, right? Crying or just really saying they're having a hard time, they're having a tough time and looking for resources. So, for us, we take care of our patients. Yes, very good. We do very good on that. Caregivers, we still need to work on. And for caregivers, the purpose of Shape Partners is really trying to help caregivers advocate for themselves. So one thing I tell caregivers is to ask the healthcare team, what resources do you have for the caregivers of the cancer patient? So you put the pressure back on the healthcare professional. Like, okay, so yes, you're taking care of my loved one, but what do you have for me? Do you have any resources, a brochure, a group, or just something? So it's important to self-advocate for yourself. I'm going to look at some of the comments here. Hi, Michelle, Haley, Lynn, Karen. Hi, Karen, her mama here. Financial toxicity is real. Yes. All right. So what are some signs of caregiver burnout? So you may be forgetful. You may feel foggy. You may feel hopeless. You may feel helpless. You're uninterested in things that you used to enjoy. You may feel tired despite getting enough sleep. You're easily flustered. You may have negative interactions with your loved one. And that is a huge red flag. And, sometimes, being in the clinics as healthcare professionals, you can witness that. How is the caregiver interacting with the patient, right? Because you may be able to pick up on some cues there. And then you may, your life may revolve around caregiving and you don't really enjoy it. And that's okay. That's okay, because like I said, being a caregiver sometimes, it's not something you plan for. It's something that happens, and then your whole life just shifts. So I think the important part there is opening up and finding an outlet to really talk to someone about that. Saju, the person you're caring for needs you at your best. So important to not neglect yourself and take the time to care for yourself. Yes, Saju, right on. You do have to take care of yourself. I'm watching from Murphy. Oh, hello, Cindy. Thank you for being here. And overeating, yes, Karen. Overeating is definitely another sign. Um, so, how do you deal with caregiver burnout? And I really, position that into three S's. So, stress, self care, and support. So, with stress, you want to give yourself time to recognize signs and symptoms of stress. You want to identify what are you stressed about, and then you want to try to figure out what can I do about this stress. Do you need to reach out to someone? Do you need to find a resource? Do you need to find help? What do so really identifying what's causing your stress. And then that whole mindset, we did a segment on mindset, shifting your mindset to really see the positive in the situation. Self-care. So give yourself time to engage in self-care. Journaling is really good. Allow yourself to grieve. And this is a big one, because as your loved one transitions into being a cancer patient, and you become a cancer caregiver, a lot goes on mentally and emotionally. So you have to give yourself that room and time to really grieve and really feel what you're feeling, flush yourself out, whether it's crying, yelling. I used to always tell my patients and caregivers, schedule that. You need that time. You need that outlet just to kind of, say, why me? Why us? Why now? And that's okay. But you don't want to stay there too long. That's the only thing, because then things progress, right? And I found this article that says there are certain foods that really support your emotional health. And they are fish, fatty fish, whole grain, lean protein, leafy greens, and yogurt. Those support your emotional health. So I thought that was really cool in terms of self-care. And support. So give yourself time to ask for help and accept help. I'm going to say that one more time. Ask for help and accept help. And I know that can be very hard. We talked about it last week about how you can try to ask for help. And sometimes you just need to practice. Maybe, asking for something small before you ask for something really big, But asking and accepting help, it's important. And I'm a big advocate for telling your story. Once you tell your story, people can understand where you're coming from. So if you don't want to come out and say, "Oh, I need help with doing X, Y, Z," just tell your story, and then people will say, "What can I do for you?" And that's your moment to really jump in and say, "Well, can you do X, Y, or Z?" And everyone wants to help. We talked about this last week. People are definitely there and they want to help. So let them in. Let them in. You can join a virtual support group or online community. Those are really good because you have people who are really experiencing the same thing you're experiencing or can relate. So just having that sense of community, that outlet again, is very important. And find someone who can help you understand all the medical information. So I would say lean on your healthcare team. Hold them accountable. We serve you. We serve you and your loved one. If you don't understand something, stop. I really need to understand this. So, once you have an understanding, that uncertainty decreases. So hard to ask for help when people reaching to support. Just be honest. Yes, Saju, so true. Saju said it's so hard to ask for help when people are reaching to support. Just be honest. Yes, because it's new. It's a transition. You're in transition. And you have to, possibly do things that you wouldn't have done in the past, like asking for help. So that is true. So with all that, I'm going to wrap it up just by saying, allow yourself time to just be and think. I think, as caregivers, you get wrapped up in the doing. You're doing so many things at one time. But give yourself the space and time to really just think, get your thoughts together. How are you feeling? Ask yourself that. How am I feeling? And one tip I would give you on that is try to give yourself time when you're doing something routinely. So in the shower in the morning, or if you're brushing your teeth, just be mindful of where am I right now, mentally, emotionally. Where am I? What's going on with me? So do a check in with yourself, um, and think about, are you having these symptoms of stress? Are you having symptoms of caregiver burnout? And what are your options? What can you do about it? What can you do about it? And then you want to develop a plan, right? So develop a plan as to what you can do to help alleviate some of these stresses. And not saying that, one thing is going to, make all your stresses go away, but maybe it will reduce it, give you an outlet to provide the best care, to your loved one. So that's all I have for now. Cindy says, foods that support emotional health. I've never thought of that way. Yes, there's a lot out there, Cindy, in terms of health. And that's what this platform is for, just to really provide the information that will help. And again, if anyone needs help on, or you want to kind of just talk about caregiver burnout or stress or how you're feeling, please feel free to direct message me, email me, or whatever. I'm here. I will help you develop a plan if you want to, or, if you want to figure out how to reach out for help, develop some sort of plan or strategy for that, because it's really important. And Saji, you hit the nail on the head just by saying you have to take care of yourself in order to provide the care to your loved one. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. Absolutely. It is okay, Karen, to not be okay sometimes. And, it's hard because if you're someone that's used to being in control and, you have your image, and then this happens, it's hard to kind of really find a new balance, on asking for help and really telling people what's going on and letting people in. It can be, really, really hard. So that's why, Shape Partners was really developed for caregivers, just to give a sense of community, give information just to help, brainstorm, because I believe that cancer caregivers are really essential to the healthcare team, because after that patient leaves the hospital or clinic, it's on the cancer caregiver, whether, it's med compliance, managing symptoms. There's so much. And again, you're not, really prepared for that role. Sometimes it just happens. So we are here for you. If you have any questions or need any resources, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world or country, if you need something, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope everyone has a good night. And thank you for creating this platform. It's my self-care. Thank you, Karen. You're more than welcome. All right. Good night, everyone.